Welcome to the Run.down from the Strickland. I am joined by two of my good friends, Doug and Tyrese, after well, it was a thing that happened today. The Knicks lost Game 6 to the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and will not be going to the finals. We will instead see the Marjorie Taylor Greene honorary Super Bowl between the Pacers and Thunder. So that's where we are. Definitely wasn't a great game played by the Knicks. You would like to see a lot more from Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. But they didn't drop the rope until it was very late. But yeah, I want to definitely introduce my co-host first. Doug, Tyrese, how you guys doing?
Do you want me to answer that truthfully, or you muted, Doug?
Oh, my fault. I'm
Fine
muted.
egg by the way.
I was saying I'm perfectly fine.
I think so. We all have I think my shirt is also topical. You got Tyrese hanging with the Brunson jersey. He's still a 1A.
Mm-hmm.
You got the fly ass Knicks hat with the Knicks shirt from Drew, and I'm like, dare, please, guys. There are other answers to cope, but
yeah, children don't do drugs. You heard it here first. Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs dangerously. Please limit your drug use and make sure that you have the necessary Narcan and other items
and don't
available.
be head of a government agency if you're going to do lots of drugs also.
True. Don't do ketamine. Ketamine's not a good drug. Do like
or
shrooms.
Don't do anything, because we need to make sure that all the kids, all the adults are off the drugs.
So I do want to talk about the game besides drugs. I know drugs, we can spend a whole pod on that. I don't want to start with just reflections on the season. The wound is very raw. Let's talk about this game tonight. We didn't get a good performance from the Stars. Either of them, really. Brunson seemed to really struggle with his decision making. We know Cat is what he is, right? When he's really in a flow, you just can't stop him. When they're throwing things at him, it takes him some time to adjust. Didn't really get any time on the bench. Is there a thing to boil this game down to, or is it just everything, or is it just this is how series go? The Pacers are better, and Game 5, the desperate team wins, and Game 6, the quote unquote better team wins.
I mean,
you should take this.
I think this is just really, really shitty turnovers. Like, they just got it. Like, what the fuck were they doing? It was maddening to watch, like, the points off for turnovers. That's what won them the game. Like, if the Knicks take care of the ball nominally, they win this game. But the problem is, like, they just could not, for the life of them, keep the ball in front of them. It was maddening. Yeah, that's just my takeaway from it, really.
Yeah, that's my main takeaway. I don't have the points off turnovers, but
34.
I have, right? But I have, the Knicks have 17 turnovers and Indiana has like 25 fast break points. You know what I mean? Like, that's really like what it was, just like turning the ball over and not getting back on defense. Even on like multiple made shots. Like, you could survive certain things, but like that level of defensive breakdown, like, sure, we could talk about like Towns and Brunson or whatever on offense, but like it was just terrible defense, not getting back, and just bad turnovers. Like, it really is that, like, for the game. I mean, there's the game, then there's the series, then there's the playoffs, and there's the season where keep going back and back. But if we're just talking about this game, I mean, turnovers, fast break points.
I do want to kind of focus on that a little bit, because I think one of the things that I think we've criticized, or I've definitely criticized Tibbs in the past, especially when they had Quickly and Toppin, who we saw thrive in the same kind of environment. We've pushed, no pun intended, Tibbs to expand to accelerate the pace, right? And that's something they needed to do against Detroit. And when they did, I think it worked well. Do you think this was a series where they needed to slow it down more, or do you think they're just like a fundamentally like non-intuitive team? Because I think it's incredibly frustrating to watch guys who are like, they're smart players, but they have to make a kick out, and it's just a little bit late. It's a little bit off. Why are you feeding OG in the post with 20 seconds left on a difficult pass? Those kind of things. Is this a case where they just needed to slow down more, or I don't know, but it was pretty eye-opening to see just the lack of composure from everyone. Mitchell Robinson gets a turnover, OG even. You live with it, but Brunson was out of sorts. Cat was out of sorts. Are they just fundamentally like? Is that the like arbitrage we've gone with? We're like, we have great, talented players, but none of them really can improvise or read, or is that more of a Tibbs thing?
I just thought Demhart just played really good defense on Brunson. I just thought he had a good game. I really did. I just think of just right, like it was just a game. Like in that type of context, I don't know if there's some larger.
I think it was more
inherent.
I mean, Brunson was just, but that's the point, right? Like you see players play good defense on the players that Brunson gets mentioned with, and they don't completely fall apart. I don't think he did quite that, but you were expecting a lot more from him, right? Tyrese, I'm curious, like, do you think our team is just fundamentally just lacks those intuitive players, or is it?
I don't even think we lack intuitive players. I think we just are like, it's so weird because I feel like a lot of this just comes down to like coaching principles and like reading the game. And it's weird because Jalen Brunson's capable of reading the game at a high level, but for whatever reason, like today he just wanted to be pass happy. It was so strange. It's like
it was so strange.
Like, dude, you take 30 shots. That's kind of your thing. And like I thought he would go down swinging, and he kind of just tried to do the right thing and tried to make the right play. And it's like sometimes, dude, like I would rather you force it in a game 6 than.
So you kind of think they should have been more Tibbsy today?
Yes, like it was weird. Like they played anti-Tibbsy, and it's like this is the game where it's like you got to tell like your best dude, hey, go make it happen and like live with the results. Yeah, it was just like, why is OG Anunoby the leading scorer for this team? In a closeout game. Why like he has the same shots as Jalen Brunson? What are you doing? That was kind of how I felt. I was just like, I would have rather seen like Jalen Brunson put the cape on and try to get something going. And yeah, it just that was a little strange to me.
And they didn't get back on defense. That's another big thing Tibbs hates, right? Tibbs hates easy transition points. Tibbs hates easy points off turnovers. He hates those.
I do think,
and like that's fundamentally, and that's how they lost today, which is hilarious. Not hilarious.
I do think that's just something Indiana's great at. Like they do that to everyone.
Yeah, because they leak out before getting rebounds because they don't care about
and then the team just needs to be disciplined enough to know that they have to get back. Like it's kind of funny because like this game was more of like, how it's where you kind of like, who do you want to blame? Like the players really weren't playing well, right? They just they fundamentally were just not like getting back, not doing these basic
but do you think
things.
They weren't playing hard.
I don't think they were. I think they played hard. It was just a matter of like what the end to the third quarter. It kind of just sums up the entire game. It's like they finally make the defensive play, and then Josh Hart turns it over, and then
even before that, you had the dubious out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
I don't think that was out of bounds, but
it wasn't. Like it just like it was just so maddening to see them do the right thing and then just fuck it up with a turnover. And it's
I think that does speak to the Pacers a little bit because when you fuck up, the Pacers are just they don't give you any margin for error. They'll always get that open three.
Yeah, and the Knicks are they are based on winning the possession battle. More than any other team. Like they need to win the possession battle.
But their roster isn't built for it anymore. That's the thing.
I don't think that's the case at all. I think the Knicks are still built, especially with Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson had 5 offensive rebounds in the first quarter.
But that's one player who can't play 30 minutes, right?
They built
That's
the
the
entire
team is
roster around Mitchell Robinson. I still think the core tenants remain.
No, they built the roster around Jalen Brunson and Cat,
No, they
who are
didn't.
not-
How do I phrase this? I mean, I think in 2020 when Leon Rose built the team, they built it around offensive rebounding and Mitchell Robinson. Yes, they acquired Cat, but I still think Cat is still a potent rebounder, obviously more in the defensive end than the offensive
You're
end.
saying they built it around a guy who was out until March?
They built that roster when the initial building of this roster was built around Mitchell Robinson.
You're talking about like 2020.
Yes, I said 2020.
Yeah, but they pivoted many times.
I don't think they have offensive rebounding was the bulk of this offense until last year.
In 2020, but part of that is that they got a point guard who will generate a lot of those.
Yeah, but they also we're talking about Alec Burks mid-range floaters turning into chances to get offensive rebounds and kickouts. Like this roster at its core, I don't think it's about winning the possession battle.
I do think they want to win the possession battle. I think they acquired OG and Mikal to win it in different ways that they just don't. They didn't lead into until
generating
last game.
Stocks, yes.
Which I think that's another thing that they just haven't. I think there is still a mismatch, even though he's adjusted. And this is not me calling for Tibbs to be fired. But
I mean, he needs to go. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If we're talking again, are we talking about the games, the series, he needs to.
They lost in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals too. I know you guys might not feel this way. I think it's a team that's very evenly matched. I think they should have won it. I think
I don't agree with that at all.
You don't think they're evenly matched?
No,
they blew game 1.
The Knicks are better.
Lowe should have gotten fired.
But every game until the last 2 really went down to the wire. That game did go down to the wire. That shit happens. If you want to say that,
that doesn't happen. That's the point of game 1, right? This is basically kind of like the Celtics series. It's like the mirror image of the Celtics series. Like you don't come back from losing 2 20-game leads. That doesn't happen, right? Like the Celtics, that's how they lost to the Knicks. They lost those 2 games because coming back from 20 points in the playoffs, in the second half, doesn't happen. The Knicks,
it does happen now, though. It's happened in other series.
No, it doesn't.
It has happened in other series.
It never happened before. No. With the Knicks, the Celtics never happened. I don't know what you're talking about. It never happened. And then
but I'm saying it's happening now beyond the Knicks, right? It's happening in other series.
Who gave up?
Indiana
who
did
gave
it.
Up? Who gave up back-to-back 20-point losses?
Back-to-back is adding another level there, but I'm saying this is not as unheard of. And we came back from 20 against the Pacers too. If you want, we came back from 20 against the Pacers too. So, but what the question I'm asking is, leaving that aside, you think we're the more we are a substantially more talent? It's I would agree with you on the Heat series. I think the Knicks were the more. I think that we had when there were people that would say fucking Butler was the best player in that series, and that really gave me a fucking migraine. I don't know that this is that big a disparity, or if there is a disparity. I think Haliburton, I have to say this, I think he's every bit as good as Jalen Brunson. I think right now,
he's not. No, he's not.
No,
I think they're both great. That's what I'm saying.
No, dude, they literally took Haliburton out of the game in Game 5. I've never seen that happen to Jalen Brunson. Haliburton is good to spot you.
They kind of did tonight.
Jalen Brunson still okay. Hold on. There's a big difference between Jalen Brunson getting taken out of game doing 19-7 versus Haliburton, who didn't even score double digits.
But how many shots did Brunson take?
He took.
It doesn't matter. He took 18 shots. He should have taken more, but he still took 18 shots.
Haliburton took 7.
They're not even. I
don't think there's necessarily. What I'm arguing is that one is necessarily better than the other, because a lot of those shots.
Jalen Brunson is better than Tyrese. How many
turnovers?
Okay, yes, the turnovers were bad, but the guys he averaged 30 in the series on 62 true shooting.
That's what I'm saying. The Knicks aren't in this series without Jalen Brunson.
That's not what I'm arguing, though. What I'm saying is I think the Pacers don't win this series also without Haliburton, and I think they're on the same level. That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's
agree with that at all.
It's when we play the Cavs. If you ask me if Jalen Brunson is better than Donovan Mitchell, he's just he is a better version of Donovan Mitchell. He's a score first guard who's just better.
Yeah,
at
he's better
everything.
than Donovan. Yeah, he's better than
He's
Donovan.
way
Mitchell.
more added.
Way better. I don't see that with Halliburton, and they have completely different styles, so it's a difficult competition.
I get.
I
what
think
you're
we have a
saying.
little bit of a bias towards taking shots, which I do agree Halliburton should have done more of. But like even going beyond that, I think Siakam and Cat are very evenly matched. I think their starting lineup
That's
is pretty
That's fair.
evenly
I think
matched.
Siakam and Cat.
And I think if you add defense, then you could make us. I mean, like one thing I don't think it was probably clear before the series that Siakam is a much better player than Jaylen Brown. That should be very clear. Like I was not scared of Jaylen fucking Brown ever. Like he was hitting shots in Game 5, and I was like, "Cool, dude. I'm not fucking worried about you on either end." But so you guys think this was not an evenly matched series, and it's complete. I mean, more of a Tibbs loss than the Miami, or similar.
This is all.
Sorry, I'll let you guys talk.
The entire series is on Tibbs. Like the entire series is on him.
They ran that starting lineup for no reason.
like they ran a lot. Hold on, like just think of the series. They ran a lineup that didn't work the entire like playoffs, right? And it got thing. This first game, they continued to play drop coverage, and then also just literally not take away. The only thing Aaron Nesmith was doing was shooting, right? He was just literally catching and shooting. They did not force him to do anything else defensively. So it was a complete breakdown of that, like right then and there. The combination of drop coverage, poor rotations, same thing. And then it took Game 3 for him to finally realize that the starting lineup doesn't work? Like it's too late. Like they lost. And they lost in that Game 1 because of Tom Thibodeau. Like, yeah, it's all on him. How is it not like
at the very least, this should be going 7. Like the fact, not to mention the entire playoff run was them coming back from double-digit leads.
Yeah.
Do you understand how bad that looks? Like the fact that they were just getting by on talent alone. They out-talented the Celtics. They didn't play them like tactically better. They came back from 20 twice, came back from 14 again to win the 3rd game, and the 6th game they blew them out. They came back from 20 against the Pacers. This entire series was just them being the significantly better talented team and playing with a fucking anchor. Because he decided to run Josh Hart with the starters. He decided to shrink his rotation. The entire playoff run was them just going, we are legitimately more talented than the teams we're playing against. And making it work somehow.
Yeah, and they needed to play Deuce more this series too. Like they played Josh Hart more than Deuce because they didn't, like, for some reason, Thibodeau was not recognizing or leaning into the fact that they needed perimeter. I mean, Shamet was fine, right? Shamet actually played well, surprisingly. So I'm like, I'm not going to bash.
It took him until Game 5 to pick up at more than half court.
Yeah, like it's those little things, and that's why you need to play McBride in that series. Because like, if you want to slow down the Pacers, you actually need perimeter defense. Because you see that like if Halliburton actually, he gets his step, he gets an easy thing. Like they're on the run, and it's great. But if you're picking them up, it's significantly harder for them. And they didn't play Deuce. Like they didn't play their best perimeter defender. They chose rebounding. Like they chose rebounding in chaos, and the chaos actually works in Indiana's favor. They want you to play like that because they're better at playing that way. And Tibbs just leaned into it. And look where we're at. Tyrese Halliburton is going to the NBA Finals because Tom Thibodeau doesn't recognize things.
He doesn't.
I do want.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
I do want to it's interesting because I think Hart is such a better fit for what the bench needs, and Deuce is such a better fit for what. Like I was hypercritical of the decision to start Elfrid Payton, but not just because I didn't want to seem like a hater. I was saying that if you look at the bench at that season, and we may not want to relive it. I don't know.
No, I know where you're going with this, and
But if you looked at Quickly's shortcomings with that bench, it was that he really, at that time, right? He had the floater, he had the 3, he couldn't get to the rim. He wasn't the most intuitive passer at that time. He's improved in all of those areas a lot, but he was a rookie, right? You could even argue for some of that season, Payton was a slightly better defender, but the starting lineup had defenders. The starting lineup had a guy who you're already playing your offense through in Randall. That was just how they were going to live or die, for better or for worse, right? At that point, he fits what they need more. His shortcomings are less important. His shortcomings as a creator are less important running the offense through Randall and RJ as the number 2. And I know Tyrese is puking thinking back to the times when we were running the offense through Randall and RJ, but that is what your lineup needed. It's a guy like that. And the bench needed a guy like Alfred Payton who would just get to the rim sometimes and get fouled. Like they actually, and like if you look at like the super small minutes that Alfred Payton played with the bench, they were positive. And that's Alfred Payton, the guy we all shit on. And you look at it this year, and it's like, it's not that Josh Hart is bad. You put him on that bench, you look at all the things that Deuce struggles with: creating, pushing the pace, dealing with ball pressure. Hart is good at those things. Passing, right? And they have shooters. They have guys that can hit, catch, and shoot threes. So that also diminishes Deuce's impact. But on the starting lineup, what you need someone. Usually, teams are not going to have more than one good point of attack guard, right? So if you put Deuce on Tyrese Halliburton, yes, when they've done that, it's worked. And then you allow Bridges and OG to play off ball, and guess what? Deuce can't create. Guess what? He doesn't need to. You're giving the ball to Josh Hart, to Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges every time. You're playing through Cat. He's the 5th option in that lineup, and you don't need him to be more than that.
He needs to be good offensively.
But
At
also
some point, the ball
year,
needs to go in the net.
If you're looking at him as a player, fine. But at this point, if he is the 5th option on that starting lineup, you cannot tell me that isn't like a trade-off, like a
Nobody
fine
cares about him.
I think they absolutely do. Look at how they guard him from 3, and look at how they guard Josh Hart.
Nobody cares about. I mean, yes, Josh Hart is a different case altogether, but like nobody.
Are they closing out on Deuce at 3?
Nobody.
Is he moving without the ball? Is he getting in? Is he disrupting point of attack?
And then he does all of that, and then the ball goes clank. The ball needs to go in the net. The ball needs to go in the net. The ball needs to go in the net.
It has, but it has. That's what I'm saying. And
you can't be a 53 true shooting 6-man. Like, come on, at some point the ball needs to go in the net, man.
I'm talking about he's not a 6-man. He's going to be a 5th man.
That's even worse.
And that's my whole point.
No, it's not.
Yes.
My whole point.
Yes.
My whole point is, why is he 53?
You can put Landry Shamet in the same spot, and you get the same effect. That's the whole point. I've been saying this for the entire fucking season.
He's not in the same spot. Landry Shamet just takes threes.
I can unmute myself.
Well, hold on. What I'm saying is, yes, he's 53 true shooting. That's a problem because he is constantly trying to create, because you're constantly having in a role where he has to create. Do you think, Tyrese, yes or no? Would he have 53 true shooting if he was playing with the starting lineup all the time?
He's constantly trying to create. He's always playing next to a ball.
No, he's asked to create. He's not.
He's not.
He is.
He's
less
literally
so
playing.
now.
He gets
You're
to play
talking about the season. You're talking about the season,
and he gets to play with 5-out spacing.
You're talking about the season. And for most of the season, he was their lead guard off the bench. Even with, or they would take turns, because Campaign isn't like necessarily a great off-ball player. What I'm saying is,
Campaign
in that
is
role,
the offense.
Do you think he has had better true shooting besides that? My question is, do you think that he would have had 53 true shooting playing next to Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, OG, and Mikal? If your answer is yes, I'm sorry, then you are a hater.
Well, we know he's a hater. Tyrese knows that. It's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that as you're right, but I'm a hater.
1 second.
But I do want to get to these comments. Team plays with a lot of heart, and sorry, I want to do the one before that. Sorry, but we'll get to the next one. Team plays with a lot of heart, and I guess pun intended, heart, but makes too many mental errors to win a series like all this. All triggers on from the coach. That's what I was asking, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Tyrese. It's just tough to parse out, because you watch Indiana run their offense, and they're just constantly, or Boston for much of when we played them. Even Detroit is not a good offensive team. They don't have very intuitive. We played Tobias Harris last year, and they seem to just be more cohesive. It doesn't seem like the Knicks are cohesive, or when they're making passes, so many of them are turnovers. When they try to go slow, it's stagnant. Have we over-indexed in fundamentally non-connective or conducive players? You think it's Tibbs? I think you think it's Tibbs, but if you guys both want to expand on that, but yeah.
I think it's Tibbs, but also they need somebody else who can rotate the defense. the Knicks don't really have anybody who can rotate a defense and be able to capitalize off of that. I mean, they're missing a backup ball handler. That could ideally, like, you're missing quickly. Like, it's somebody
Mhm.
who can rotate defenses,
Or
play
even
on
a
the
guy like
ball.
Sexton, right?
Yes, it's like just somebody else who could handle the ball and ideally be able to play next to Brunson as a point of attack guard. They don't have that, and it kind of stinks, especially because like you can tell. I think a lot of these turnovers happen because like Jalen Brunson had to create the advantage, and you can run organized offense as much as you want to. I think the organized offense really helped with the bench unit, but against that ball pressure, it's kind of hard to run organized offense when you're stuck in the coffin corner and you like there's no way for them to kind of reset and gain an advantage. I think they desperately need somebody who can rotate a defense. Yeah, like they need somebody else who can rotate the defense and ideally be able to play next to Brunson. And I know we just got off of it, but it's like that's where Deuce not being a ball handler hurts because ideally, if he could handle the ball, that he would be that perfect spot. I would understand him being a fifth starter if he could do that because then it's like you get 80% of quickly.
But do you need that in your starting lineup, or do you need that on your bench lineups? Because I disagree on like the starting lineup when he has played with them has been pretty good, and Brunson is good enough where you can just get enough from Cat. And like that's the other question you're leaving out is like if Cat is like this offensive dynamo, but he can't do that, and he can't give you rim protection on defense, buddy, you're investing a lot of money and resources in a guy that is not giving you enough, right?
Yeah, but the offense is insane. That's why, like, ideally,
It isn't. Is it insane if it's not helping other people? To your point, you want a secondary ball handler and you want to blame Deuce for that. I'm saying they have a guy they're paying to be that.
I don't think
Well,
they're paying him to be that. They're
who's
paying
the
him to be a
second
they're
second.
paying him a lot of fucking money, and they're not paying Deuce.
You're
a
paying
lot
him
of
to be
money.
You're paying him to be a second option. He's good at that. He's been good at that the entire season, and
But
he's
it's
not even getting a chance
amplifying
to play.
people. It's
I
not
mean, he
amplifying.
doesn't. I mean, he literally carries the bench unit.
Well, we're talking about Towns right now, right?
Yeah.
Well, Towns is more of like an elite type of play finisher, right?
Yeah.
He's more like how Anthony Davis is like a second thing. That's why like Austin Reeves was getting so many reps with it. I do agree with Tyrese though with kind of like the larger point because you have Brunson and you have McHale, right? Ideally, you want to have three different people. Like, we really need three different guards to be able to
McHale
do.
is a little bit leaves a lot to be desired there.
Yes.
Sure, yes, but like that's why he would be like the third. Like if he was like the third guard and he was able to just get to his like pick and roll mid range shot or something like that, that's totally fine. Like that's perfectly reasonable
That's
to have.
Middleton
like,
role, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think he's perfectly suited for that. That's why you need someone else. Like Towns is going to finish plays no matter what. Like who's getting the ball. Like they
But is
need
that
someone
worth
else to.
$60 million? Because that's the question.
He carries the bench unit. Like that
I mean,
bench
he does.
unit.
That doesn't
and
answer my
also-
question. He doesn't provide any rim protection, and when he goes on tilt like he did tonight,
I mean, he was
massacred his
also
team.
carried. He was probably one of the best players in this series.
He was the best
like,
player
is it-
for the Knicks this series.
Right, like I
I
said,
don't know about
there's the game, there's the series, there's the playoffs, and there's the season. Right? Yeah, Towns had a shitty game. He was absolutely awful, but like he was a huge reason, if not the main factor, in the reason why the Knicks even lasted this long.
But it's also how those points come, right? It's straight line drives. Sometimes he averaged, I think, 1 assist for the postseason.
Yeah.
I mean, that is bad from your second option.
He also didn't like turn the ball over, so I'm just.
He turned the ball over quite a bit. He had
for the
assist to turn.
postseason he turned it over. I think it was 2 times a game.
Yeah, so that's 0.5 assist to turnover ratio. That's not good.
Yes,
that
but it's
like
also if you're turning the ball over twice a game in the postseason and you're having 1 assist, yes, it's not a positive assist to turnover ratio, but he's not like nuking possessions and he's still efficient. So obviously
he wasn't super efficient. Right? If you're doing that, if you're not creating for others, you should be like Shaq, right?
He gave them 20, like he gave them like 22 and 11
tonight.
He gave them 22.
Yeah, he gave him
On how
22
many
and 14.
Yeah,
19 shots.
He missed free throws,
That's
which is
not
kind
what
of
you really want from your center, though. That's kind of, especially when you're not getting anything else on the other end. And what I'm saying is, I agree they need someone else to create offense, ideally. But you have two guys. We're harping on Deuce, but you gave up 5 picks for one guy who, I'm sorry, like I understand why they did that. I'm not relitigating the trade. You look at the second apron, the trade makes sense. Like the thing is that like the one time when the offense started to look a little bit good, even with Brunson and Cat out, was Bridges creating. Maybe that's something you need next year, but I think you need. I would focus on those guys and those spots creating more leverage. But also, they were 2 games away from the conference finals, and we all agree that Hart being in that starting lineup was the big issue. So I don't get why we don't agree that Deuce in place of Hart probably would have been better. I think even you would agree with that, Tyrese, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree because Hart is the worst option for them. But it's also like Mitchell Robinson was great in the lineup. The double big lineup was
Yeah, but
great.
Mitch, against a true 5-out team, you can pull Mitch out of the paint, right? And because of the lack of depth, that creates issues in terms of do you play Precious? How do you stagger Hat and Hart, Cat and Mitch? Do you play them 15 minutes in a row?
I mean,
again,
like I also think it's fair to say like a lot of these questions that we have aren't really questions that should be hard, and it's hard because of this coach. Like you look at like I think it's very similar to Boston, where Boston plays like Horford, KP, and Cornette all like at center, but they could all like have shared minutes next to each other. Obviously, you can't play Precious and Mitch together, but you could play Cat and Mitch together. You could play Cat and Precious together. You could play all of them as the sole big. Like it should not have been this difficult to like 5 minutes at center or whatever. And it's just like Precious as the lone big, positive net rating. Precious, Mitch is the lone big, obviously positive net rating. Cat and Mitch together, positive net rating. It's like there are ways to configure lineups to where these guys can contribute. And I'm not saying bring back Precious. I think they probably will, though. I mean, I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. I really wish I could. But I do think it's fair to say, like, there is so much meat on the bone with this team. And it's like, I can't point to roster construction being like a significant flaw when you're 2 games away from the finals. And they haven't gotten a chance to actually be utilized all season. Like it took us 60 games to realize that Mikal Bridges can run pick and roll and get into like a mid-range pull-up and actually draw fouls. And it took us 70 games to realize, okay, OG Anunoby straight line drives can generate free throw attempts. We barely learned anything about this roster, and then it turns out, oh hey, like Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright can play minutes and be positive in their minutes. There are so many things about this roster we did not know because he did not experiment, and that's an issue. That's my issue. It's just all these questions that we have. Like we should have the answers to these questions. How do you have Cal Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson and pick and pop is not like a staple of your offense? How are you not built around that?
Yeah, it's I think that it's a shift. I think we'd all agree, right? Like for as much as it sucked, the Alfred Payton stuff, next year the Alec Burks, he wanted to build an identity for a team that desperately needed one. We didn't have an identity in the past years, right? We had Kurt Rambis saying maybe KP needs to be a 3. We had Fizdale doing whatever Fizdale was doing. So that helped, but we are not at a level where we need to. The team has pros. They have guys who have done a good job of kind of building what they need to build. You need to have the data now to know that what works, and I think that that's probably a disadvantage against a team that was confident in throwing Jarris Walker out there. That was confident in playing, Obi Toppin, a guy that Tibbs would never have played. Or we've seen. I don't think Obi Toppin's a fundamentally different player. I mean, he's a little bit of a 3-point shooter. In times when things were going wrong. There's no way he's getting fired. He just made these conference finals. It's a step up from last year. I don't think he'll get fired. I do want to get to this comment. thank you to Strick for all of the Knicks stuff during this weird season. Maybe next year they could have Mikal run off a damn curl. It was a weird season. It was weird because I don't think we've ever come in with, this was the first season I can remember, honestly, as a fan, because even in the 90s, it was like, well, you had Jordan and then you had, you were the 8th seed, there's always, this was the season where I felt like, this is the first time where I was like, nah, you're supposed to be a contender. And I can kind of feel that from the 90s. It definitely wasn't the case during the Melo era. Even the year they got the 2 seed, it wasn't the case, really, at least in 25 years, to be conservative. And they got 51 wins. They made the Eastern Conference Finals. It always just seemed very inconsistent. It seemed different from what we've seen in Tibbs eras where, this was a team that had all the talent and it seemed like they were fluctuated a lot. You used to see that a team was short on talent, but would fight till the end. And I'm not saying this team doesn't have heart or whatever, but it definitely felt like a weird season. I think a lot of it was those expectations. In terms of running Mikal of a damn curl, I'm going to say this. It kind of sucks that like every time the Pacers leaked out a ball, it was to Siakam or Obi. They'd always got a layup. I mean, we had that Game 5 moment where Mikal gets the ball under the hoop, pivots to a fadeaway, right? I saw him pass out another layup today. OG is an adventure in transition, to put it mildly. Hart is a ayahuasca adventure in transition. So that to me is a bigger focus. It's like, why can they just like, you got 1-on-1 at the hoop, you're 6'7", 6'8", 6'4". It looks easy for Siakam. It looks easy for fucking Nesmith. Why can't you do that? But I do think they need diversity of the offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're just not going to get the things that you want with Tibbs. I keep harping on it, and I hate to harp on it, but it's just like, you're not going to get a diverse offense with Tibbs. You're not going to get somebody who's going to run different actions to get people involved with Tibbs. He at any point is liable to shrink the bench because he doesn't trust his bench. It's been 5 years. We've seen it. Like, next year they can run it back, and I'm just not going to care because I know what's going to happen. They were locked into the 3 seed for the last 2 months of the season, and it did not matter. Like, there wasn't any time to experiment until Brunson got hurt. And as soon as Brunson came back, it came back to being the same thing. And it's just like, you are not going to win with this guy because at some point it becomes he needs to push the right buttons, and he has never pushed the right buttons. Like, he's been coaching for 12 years. He's never been in NBA Finals.
I mean, he did it at times this series, though, right? Going to the full court or the pressure in Game 5.
It took game, like, that's the thing. Like, but it's like, it
took way too late.
Game 5 to realize, oh, hey, maybe I don't let Halliburton walk into pull-ups. Maybe you should play deeper into your bench to make sure your guys don't get gassed out. Maybe when you're giving up 8 threes to Aaron Nesmith in the fucking 4th quarter, don't run out the same lineup. Like, it was just meltdown after meltdown, and the Knicks got by on the fact that they're insanely talented and it's one of the best rosters in the league. And I don't think anybody believed it was going to be one of the best rosters in the league, but also that speaks to how bad the coaching was, because it's like, oh, hey, like, Delon Wright is still like a pretty impactful defender. Landry Shamet is a 60 true shooting wing. I don't think yeah, sorry. I lost my train of thought there, but it's also just like,
no, you're right. Like, and also like the Knicks go on this run because Mitchell Robinson got healthy, right? Like, that's like, he got healthy, like he was healthy, and you can actually, we all basically, because we haven't seen Mitch play for what, like 2 years, basically, we were like, oh yeah, Mitchell Robinson is like super elite when he's healthy. Like, the Tibbs got bailed out because like Mitch is the strongest guy in the league.
yes,
like it's like a Tim and Steven Adams, right? Like, and he's more athletic than Steven Adams, so it's that's what
like,
they got built.
He's literally getting bailed out by the fact that like the roster construction the Knicks have built over the last 5 years is still insanely elite, to the point where you have 7 like guaranteed 7 capable playoff rotation players, which again, like I think that's a lot. I don't think people realize like it's hard to get playoff capable, all right, playoff capable rotation players, and the fact that the Knicks had like 7, and then
Mhm.
Landry Shamet somehow just like on a minimum contract coming off with a dislocated shoulder became 8.
Mhm.
DeLon Wright is 9. Precious Achiuwa had moments in this series. I don't think he's a rotation player, but like he's playable, especially in the right context. And I'm saying that as somebody who hates watching him play basketball.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right.
But like, there's clearly depth. Don't even get me started on like not playing the rookies. Like, there was times where you could have experimented and you could have done things, and it's like you had. That's why you have 6 months of regular season. It's to experiment and do things, especially when you're locked into the 3rd seed, and they were locked into the 3rd seed essentially from January. And even
Mhm.
like even Bridges had to be like, "Oh yeah, you should go deeper into your bench." Like,
It definitely seems like even when we had RJ and Obi and guys in Grimes who were not really satisfied with their roles, I think there was less. I don't know. It seems like OG and Mikal are less like completely bought into the Tibbs thing.
well, yeah, especially I also think it's like guys got paid. Like that's
Yeah.
what happens when guys get paid. Like Mikhail knows he's getting paid; they have to pay him. Cat got paid. Brunson got paid. OG got paid. Hart even got paid. Like at this point, it's a bunch of veterans, and they're just like, "Hey, dude, like, what are we doing here?" I don't think the rah is working as much because you don't have a bunch of second and third year players who are trying to get to that second contract. It's way different negotiating with guys on 3rd contracts and 4th contracts compared to guys on 1st and 2nd.
I do want to get to this comment and throw this back to you, Doug, Drew.
Hart played like garbage. Yeah, he did. He played garbage in this series
Yeah.
today. All that good stuff.
I have felt a little bit of a pull because every time I'm like, fuck, why are they playing Josh Hart so many minutes? He misses 10,000 rotations, just makes stupid turnovers. He'll come back and drive the ball down. I think most Knicks fans love Josh Hart. But it does seem,
Yeah,
and
he's
he only
great.
played 20 minutes tonight, but it does seem like that's just Tibbs's. It seems like he fundamentally thinks like this is the guy that's going to pull us out of any bad situation.
Yes.
Yes.
And
That's
that's
a
the
problem.
problem.
That seems like a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Like,
Josh
like your
Hart's the
default.
energy guy, right? Like
Yes.
he's the guy you throw in and you're just like create, like do something different because that's what he is. Like do something different. So if whatever he's doing is different works, you keep him in. If he's turning the ball over, like that failed alley-oop pass to Towns or whatever that was, like you got to pull him, like right, like it's just shit like that. Just like pull him. It's okay because you never know. The next day he may be good. Like that's the whole point of him as your 6. He's the perfect 6 man, and we don't use him as a 6 man.
And it's like he's had moments throughout the playoffs where it's like, yeah,
Yes.
play more Josh Hart, and then it's like, don't play Josh Hart. It's okay. Like give it 20 minutes.
And also play him where he's most useful, right?
Yeah, like play him next to Mitchell Robinson because they dominate the boards. Don't play him in a situation where he has to guard the point of attack. Don't play him in situations like he works as a ball handler for a second unit. I think he works in that capacity. He works as somebody.
Go small. I'm sorry to interrupt your thought, Terry, but like it just came in. Did Tibbs play small with Hart at the 4? Because like with Robinson, because that actually is like the best use.
He played small.
The bench in.
It was Hart and Towns. That was like the lineup that basically got them into the game. Like it was Deuce, Shamet, Wright, Hart, and Towns.
Yeah, like that's how you use them, right? Like, or you throw Mitch in there as well, and you put in Brunson or like the whole thing is like that's how you use Josh Hart, and he doesn't like to use him that way. He just used him as he's going to be a rebounder at the 3, so we can have triple rebounding. And it's like you don't need to do that. Like he's already elite. Mitchell Robinson's pretty elite. Like just roll with the 2 against the Indiana Pacers, a whole team they can't rebound. Like you you own the advantage there.
It's like Shun was saying this. It's like he tries to like put in the perfect recipe where like you have a balance of everything. So you have enough rebounding. Sometimes you need to double down. So like the heart for Mitch thing, I don't think that was ideal. I still would have, especially in this series. I think against Boston, it was the right move. In this series, I would have gone with Deuce because in this series, you're playing a true 5-out team, right? But just between Hart and Mitch, you're putting Hart in for rebounding, but he's still like if they put a center on him, he's not going to be effective as a rebounder. So you're losing the same spacing you lose theoretically with Robinson, but you're also not getting defense. He's a significantly worse rebounder, defender. Like in this series, it showed it, right? The things that he lacks on defense. I don't think actually his biggest weakness is point of attack. It's that he loses focus, isn't the most reliable off ball, which I think has frustrated Bridges and OG. But he takes away that spacing and he doesn't give you the rebounding that Mitch would when they just put a center on him, or if they're just helping off him, right? Even if they have a guard on him. Mitch doesn't give you spacing, right? So like it takes away like on the surface that part of the recipe, but they have to dedicate multiple guys to him, right? We saw that he had 5 fucking offensive rebounds in the first quarter. And he's a much better defender. So sometimes double down on that, right? And you already have 4 other great shooters. And I just don't think he looks at lineups that way. And it's frustrating. I want to get to this next comment. You can't play minutes without either Brunson or Towns. I mean, it was a few minutes in both stretches. I don't think those killed the Knicks, but it was a little bit curious. Curious if you guys have thoughts on that.
I thought it was fine. I mean, they didn't really lose the minutes either way. I think it was just like you're trying to keep him out of foul trouble, and ideally, yes, you want one of them on the court at all times. But like, I would not be surprised if Towns and the injury had something to do with that. Like, where it's just like 2 minutes left in the quarter, you don't want anybody to get hurt, and you want Towns to not pick up any fouls, which is again another conversation in and of itself. But I mean, I didn't think the lineups really hurt them that bad, especially I think if both the wings are on the court, like I think you expect like Mikhail, OG, and Deuce to be able to like give you at least you expect them to break even in those lineups, especially because like you're playing arguably 4 of your best defenders together all at the same time. I just think the problem is like they run the 3 wings with Deuce and Mitch, and it's like the 3 wings don't work together. Stop playing the 3 wings together. But it's maddening how it's just like we knew this by January. It's like, oh yeah, the 3 wings don't work together, and he just went, "No, I'm gonna keep doing it. Do it harder."
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the entire adjustment. It's just do it better, do it harder, better, faster, stronger. He's a fucking Daft Punk. Like, you don't pause Daft Punk. You play Daft Punk. Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Doug? Or
No, I'm tired of him. I'm tired of him. Just
what coach has gotten this kind of rope and not been able to like give you results? That's my question.
well, and Tibbs has given you results, right? I mean, look at where we were.
I'm talking about championship level results.
I mean,
like the only one that comes close is
how many
like
teams have won it in the first 5 years, starting with a situation like Tibbs?
why are we? Tibbs' first year they were the 4th seed and had an all-star.
Coming off, but what did they have? They had Randall, RJ Barrett, and
Okay,
and
but like the last 3 years he's had a championship level team. The last 3 years.
I don't think this was a championship level team.
I think 22-20. Like they played the Heat
in the context of that season, I can get it, but they weren't beating Denver. You knew they were going to beat.
But at the very least, like I think it's fair to say
they underachieved that season. I look at it series by series, and he blew the Heat series. Totally,
he blew the Heat series. They should have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. They had home court advantage to get the fucking 8th seed, and I
don't think they were beating Boston that year. By the way,
they played the Celtics incredibly. At the very least, they could have got to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's had 3 years with 350 caliber win teams. That 22-23
last
team
year the team died.
Yeah, yes, the team died last year. I agree with that. That's fair. The team died last year. The year before that, Tibbs killed them. Mm-hmm. This year, again, the talent is so overwhelming because of the trades they made. Tibbs killed them. we have multiple playoff runs where it's just like Tibbs killed them. And even in the series where they died last year, he played Precious Achua for games 3 and 4. He started him.
What was the other starting Hart, I guess? Or
he started the Heat series where he decided to run out Brunson, RJ, Hart, Mitch, and Randall.
No, I'm talking about last year though. What was the alternative starting Precious?
Start Deuce.
Oh.
Again, Deuce was a different player last year. But anyway.
Deuce was he had to walk that back.
Deuce was a different player last year.
I think he wanted to reduce the wear and tear. Josh had the ab injury as well. I think this is really 2 misses, but with overall solid results. I wouldn't be like if you told me they fired him tomorrow, I wouldn't like jump off. Well, I wouldn't jump off the balcony over game. This is we need to detach, guys. Meditate, whatever. But I wouldn't it wouldn't be as stunning as like Donald Trump joining a Buddhist temple, but it would be like because I think that teams are doing that now, right? We've seen Malone get fired, we saw Memphis fire their coach, but I do think like based on the results and based how historically this has happened, I don't see that happening. But Doug, I think you would probably agree that it is warranted.
Well, yeah, and I think we should maybe reframe the whole coaching discussion, because I think when a lot of people are like Tibbs needs to be fired, or there's some sort of feeling that like he is inherently like a bad coach, he's not, right? Because we're talking about the margins right now, right? Like if you're totally fine with second round, you'll make the Eastern Conference Finals. You probably won't ever go to the finals, but you'll make the Eastern Conference Finals. You'll always have a shot at that. Do you want that as an organization or as a fan or anything like that? Like if you're a fan and you're totally fine with just like Eastern Conference appearance and second round losses and all that sort of stuff, Tibbs is perfect for that. Like he is your guy. But like if this team does have like championship aspirations, you need someone who has to recognize that something needs to change, because shit does happen. Like you got to be able to change, you got to be able to adapt, you got to be able to realize that like your formula is not working at the time. He doesn't do that. He just goes straight. Like this is what we said was the Celtics downfall with Mazzulla this past year, right? This man was dead set on shooting his threes. He wasn't going to do anything about it. He's just going to chuck and chuck and chuck. And that cost him, right? Because he didn't recognize that not all open shots, not all these certain things are the same. Tibbs is similar in that stubbornness. And if you want a championship, Mazzulla has one, Tibbs doesn't, right? But like if you need a championship, you need someone who's willing to do that. Like we're talking margins here, right? Like we're talking margins. We're not talking about like the season was a great success. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. We're going to look back and be like, this was a fucking awesome run. We had the Celtics game. We had the 20-point comeback. Like we had some cool shit. We had Brunson basically be first team All NBA, clutch player of the year. Like we're going to celebrate. It's going to be great, but margins are important. You need a coach who's willing to do it. So like he does need to go, or revamp the entire like coaching staff he has. Like I don't know, but there needs to be some sort of shakeup.
It definitely seems like
if this is what we're doing, because like it's never going. Like the Knicks also got a bunch of breaks in this game too. Yeah. Like we didn't have
a good whistle. Besides the
that's what I'm saying. Like
the Deuce thing, I couldn't even get mad about because like we got in a friendly whistle tonight.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the Knicks caught a bunch of breaks, and Tibbs did nothing. He really did. Like in that third quarter, he was totally fine. When Indiana started heating up early in those first 2 minutes, he did nothing. This is the most important game of the season, and he did nothing. He did no changes, no mix up. We're just going to do the same exact shit that we do in February, where the bench comes in at the beginning of the fourth and we hope for the best. You can't do that. Like that's unacceptable if we're talking championship standards. If you're fine with Eastern Conference Finals losses to Indiana, then yeah, he's your guy. He's great.
Yeah, it's just like, I just cannot understand the idea of keeping Tibbs when it's like you look league wide. There are coaches who are getting fired after winning championships. Mike
Yeah.
Malone got fired.
Yeah, Mike Malone.
Mike Malone won a championship 2 years ago.
Would you replace Tibbs with Mike Malone?
No, because he's
probably not.
He's a Tibbs variant.
Well, he made a 5-out team with a shooting center. I'm not comparing Kat to Jokic, but on the other flip side of that, I think Brunson is a much better player than Jamal Murray. So
He's better than
he
Jokic.
made that work.
And Jamal Murray's better than Tyrese Halliburton, but you're not having that for some reason either.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it just kind of feels like you
admire
know what Tibbs is going to be. We're going to go on year 6 of this, where it's just like, okay, well, all your starters are going to play 35 plus minutes. He's just not going to play his bench until it matters. There's going to be no experimentation with rosters. He's not going to try things because he decides he needs to win every game and every game is important and yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be, hey, if things are failing, I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, there's just nothing that he does where it's like, okay, like I could see him trying to like gather data. I could see him trying to use the data that he's gathered in order to like make assumptions about it. I could see him changing things. Like, he doesn't do anything where it's like, he doesn't, again, like Doug said, like he doesn't try to win the margins. And it's like, you can't not try to win the margins in the playoffs. The playoffs are all about the margins. That's why he sucks in the playoffs.
I also wonder, they talk about practice. He's a very practice-oriented coach. With the team being more vet heavy right now, it's weird because he hates quote unquote kids. I think he's been better with rosters full of kids, right? Or when I say kids, I mean younger players, because they probably all practice like it's the end of the world every day, right? And you might not have that with a vet oriented roster. I do think he can adapt. He's just very slow. And that's where it's different for me. Whereas, like, Drew, you were saying that like the Celtics were going to shoot threes. For me, I don't think it is about any given. I don't think it is about defense because he won't sub out guys. And I'm very specifically talking about Josh Hart, who are struggling on. Josh Hart struggled on defense. There's no way all series, but really all playoffs and all season, right? This was a guy who missed the attempt. This is all about the details. He missed those. He doesn't, he gets back cut constantly. He's he's probably the best defensive rebounder for his position and a pretty good offensive rebounder. But it compromises your defense where, yeah, you can say Brunson and Cat are the issue, but you put 3 impeccable, those are the 2 guys that did their job. Even Bridges, right? Bridges has issues getting over screens. I really thought Bridges kept in this game today. He's not OG level, but you put a point of attack defender there. Suddenly Bridges is a help defender playing on wings, which you've seen him do. I think he did a very good job on Jason Tatum. I think he did a good job on Jaylen Brown. And we have
did a good job on Tyrese Halliburton this series.
I thought Deuce was better, right? That's part of it, right? Like Deuce struggled with TJ McConnell.
Not this season, Bridges, which I will give him credit for. He did not struggle with TJ this season.
I didn't think he struggled with TJ.
Game 5 he did.
No, but I thought this was fine at TJ. I thought TJ had a couple games like where he struggled, and it was mostly against Bridges more than anything.
Yeah, that's my point though, right? Like I think Halliburton, the biggest test for him was Deuce because he sticks with you through the screen. Bridges is actually very long and like ISO. I'm like everyone was freaking out in the regular season. Tatum cooks Bridges in ISO. He didn't do it in the playoffs. Like you put him on a big wing or even a guard in ISO. I like Bridges in that matchup. It's when he has to go through 4,000 screens and he doesn't get help. So you put a point of attack guy in place of Hart. I think that helps a lot. But I just think Tibbs is very slow to adapt. I think he knows all of these things. He just is very firmly rooted in how he thinks. Whereas I do think Mazzulla is a little bit more malleable, even though it didn't work out for them in that series. And that may be the difference. Do you want to go ahead? Sorry.
Sorry. I was saying but that's the problem with Tibbs is like, he'll probably figure out an adjustment in game 4, but you needed that adjustment in game 2 and then you lost. That is literally what explained the series. Where it's like Tibbs figured it out, and then he figured it out too late, and then he couldn't adjust because the game's already done. Like, you can't have a coach that requires a fucking soft reboot in order to make sure he can make the adjustments. I knew you appreciate that one, but yeah.
It's also like the Naismith shooting, like the crazy collapse of game one masked the issue, which actually was Tibbs in game. Tibbs was the issue in game one, and
I do want to
because of the shooting.
I want to read this comment first, and I want you to listen.
Okay.
Don't have the margins for a game like this when you waste game one, too many turnovers, poor point shooting, and way too many defensive lapses. Yeah. For that first part, I think even Schwinn said this, right? Like, this just makes it's all about game. I don't think he said it's all about game one, but this makes you remember game one. Game one kind of tipped it. I, for one, would have at the time I said they just fucking choked. I can't put that on Tibbs. These were pros, but it was that lineup that sucks. And so yeah, say more about that. One, do you think the series came down to game one? And two, do you think it's a Tibbs loss?
Yes, it all is, because a choke isn't just on the epic chokes are not just on the players. It is a larger, like, systematic thing that happens. You need everything to go right or everything to go wrong for the choke job, right? Which they did, because again, if that ball bounces an inch to the left, Tyrese Haliburton doesn't miss his shot. There is, you know what I mean? Like, you need everything to go to get that to happen, to get to that moment. And that was all on Tibbs for the lineup playing. Like, that's how they got back. And they continued in game one. They dropped coverage. Again, most of game one was drop coverage. And they gave Naismith open threes and easy threes. Like, this was an issue we talked about with Tibbs from December to February to April. You know what I mean? Like, this is the same shit we talked about in game one. And then game two, we're like, oh, what happened? Was it just a choke? No, because it's the coaching. It's game one and game two were the same game.
Like, I'm sorry, like, game one is legitimately, like, if you win game one, at the very least, you have game seven. Like, that's the issue.
Yeah, we'd be in game seven
the entire
right
now. Well, I mean, the score effects, right? They probably don't blow, like, game five, I don't think we got Indiana's best punch, right? So that would be
sure, but at the same time, it's just like that game. Truthfully, that game one probably took them out of the series. Like,
I agree. I think it did.
It took them out the series because you're cruising, you're up 16. To lose like that, and it's not like the Celtics games where it's like they walk.
This has literally never happened before. It was 994
exactly.
or 995.
It's not even like, oh, Tyrese Haliburton walked you down, Siakam walked you down, Aaron Nesmith walked you down with 6 threes in 4 minutes.
Yeah,
it took them out of the series. I truly believe if they win that game one, they probably win this in 5 or 6. But the fact that they won that game, it is hard to get up. And then they win game two. It's like it's hard to come back from that. Like, it was insane. And
what would you have done different if you were Tibbs in that situation? Take Cat out?
Play the lineups that work. Play Mitchell Robinson was dominating that game. He barely played. He overextended Josh Hart. He should have played Deuce McBride to full court pressure and put pressure on all the ball handlers. He didn't do that.
He brought back in Bridges and Brunson for no reason.
Yeah, like
every single.
Well, you're going to close with Brunson every game, right?
Yeah, but you're up. They were up like 15 at that point. At that point, like, yes.
And the defensive lineups were crushing the Pacers. Like, Mitch in the defensive lineups were manhandling the Pacers. The Pacers had no answer for Mitch this entire series. And it took Tibbs so long to recognize
5 fucking offensive rebounds in the first
and not only that, when he finally started Mitch.
First quarter,
Right, but when he finally started Mitch, he did the same thing, which was the issue in the other game when he's coming off the bench, played too many stints. Like, you got to break up Mitch's stints because that's where the most impact is. He didn't do that. Like, there's so many coaching errors throughout this. Like, yeah, the players definitely. There's always, players. We can talk about the players. I don't want to talk about the players anymore because, like, what's there to say?
Like, why wouldn't you switch the shift with Cat, where it's like, okay, if Cat is gonna play with the bench, bring the bench in earlier, and then have Brunson play the second.
It's all on him. Like this entire series is
such
on
low
Thibodeau.
hanging fruit. It's just such low hanging fruit. And then he just decides that his pivot is essentially, oh, I need to play these guys more minutes. That's his only pivot. That's been his only pivot. He has one move, and it's just I extend minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I mean, I think he needs to fall off that starting lineup, whether they make a trade or what. That starting lineup can't be the most.
The fact that we're talking about like roster construction over Tibbs is crazy, by the way, for the third straight season.
Right, and the idea also,
Sorry,
like, if we're
I
like,
didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
no, but think of it this way: like, we're talking about the same thing. They're going to go into, say, they go into the offseason, they're keeping Tibbs. Now, all of us, like, the content we're going to discuss during the summer is going to be like, well, the Knicks have to trade Josh Hart then. Like, you can't keep Josh Hart and Tom Thibodeau on the same team. You have to make a decision, and that's insane to me because, like, Josh Hart's a perfect six man. Like, I don't want to trade Josh Hart, but if Tom Thibodeau's the coach, I need Josh Hart back in Portland or something like that, like in China, in anywhere. Like,
can you think of any other player we've had this conversation about?
Yeah.
Can you think about any other player we've said you can't bring back both of them again? Tibbs and X.
Randall. We're back in the same situation.
Denominator.
Yeah,
but we're now doing it with a role player instead of, I know you hate him, but all NBA player twice. Right? So we're doing like, it's one thing to do that for a guy who's putting up 20, 10, and 5. It's another thing to do that for a guy who's, you know, he had a great 14, 9, and 5, right? It's just, it is wild. But I do want to, so I think, Doug, your point is that, like, how do you blame Hart for this, right? It's not really his fault. His limitations are exacerbated, and, you know, his strengths are.
Well, you can, again, if you want to talk about, like, the game and what happened in the game, then yeah, we could talk about how Josh Hart had a bad game. Like, I think that's totally fair. But if you want to then, like, extrapolate that to, like, larger stuff, like, should you trade Hart and do all that? Like, no. But, like, in individual games, I could say Josh Hart didn't play well. Like, kind of like John here was like this uncharacteristic Brunson game. Yeah, it was. It was an uncharacteristic Brunson game, and it sucked that it happened at Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But, like, unfortunately, like, I think Naismith getting hurt.
It's both Brunson and Cat in the game we needed.
They needed Towns. They really needed Towns to show up.
But Towns, to your point earlier, had a better game than Brunson. And this, I mean, Brunson
today,
not even
tonight.
Brunson was what, 19 on 18 shots.
Brunson to me was still better than Towns. I thought Towns was a complete disaster.
But you're also asking him to do more.
Horrible.
But you're asking more of him on defense than you are of Brunson.
It's Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Get the fuck up on the screen. Why are you dropping?
Yeah, why are you dropping?
I don't care.
Was that a Tibbs thing?
I don't care who it is. Don't drop. If your coach is telling you to drop and you know it's the wrong decision, be a big boy and get up on the fucking screen. Towns was a fucking disaster tonight. This was a terrible game. This was disgusting defensive effort. Like, it's not like Brunson
does Brunson not have blame here though? Like, he played like
Brunson
shit.
has blame, but Brunson's guard defense is not as important as Towns being able to.
No, but he had a lot of terrible turnovers.
I agree.
He was struggling with Nembhard in a way that he hasn't. The decision making, I thought, was as bad as it has ever been.
I also don't want to discredit. Unfortunately, I don't want to discredit Andrew Nembhard. He played a great fucking game. Like, he did. He had the game of his career. Like, we can admit when players have the game of their career, except for Tyrese Haliburton. Like, he's a fucking front runner. They were blowing him up in the fourth quarter. He did nothing this entire game until the game was completely over. That he started taking shots. Like, fuck him. Fuck all those guys. Like, the real MVPs of that team was Nembhard tonight showed up and locked up Jalen Brunson. It fucking sucks to say it. He did. And Pascal Siakam carried them the entire series. Like, Haliburton didn't do shit except for that one game in a complete blowout. Like, sorry. Like, I it's insane that people think he's this guy.
No,
it's insanity.
I don't think it's crazy to say he was at least as good as Brunson this series.
Yes, it is. You are absolutely insane for thinking that. Jalen Brunson was significantly better than anything Tyrese Haliburton did this series. And if you do not think that, then you don't know ball. I'm sorry, you don't know ball then.
Wow. Doug, I thought we were friends, man.
Don't say stupid shit like that then. Why are you praising Tyrese? Why are you saying dumb shit? Don't say dumb shit.
I'm praising him. I think I think Brunson is capable of much more than Tyrese Haliburton is.
He was the entire playoffs.
in general, this series, I don't think his decision making was.
Jalen Brunson had one bad game. He had one bad game because Andrew Nemhart played the game of his life. Like, I'm sorry, that's what happened. If you want to blame Jalen Brunson for that, then you are also hating on that. No, Jalen Brunson was perfectly fine. He averaged how many points? Like, get out of here. We're not doing shit with Jalen Brunson. Like, that is insanity. It's insanity.
I don't think this is a referendum on if he's a 1A. Do I think we could have gotten more out of him this series? And I think that does go more to Tibbs. I do think they need a guy that can use him for all his gifts more. That's all I'm saying.
You know the best gift that Jalen Brunson has? Off-ball play. And we just don't utilize it. Like,
nope.
Do we not have the guys to, though? I mean, Bridges, you can see it really struggles with.
I mean, yeah, like, yes, part of it is like we don't run organized offense or sets a lot, but it's also just like there are so many ways that you can use Brunson, like, creatively. Like, you could have him in the corner, you could have him coming off screens. Like, we could go about rotations, but also Cat and Brunson had bad games. The defense was poor. How to be mad at his players really brew it. Yes, I agree. Like, the players didn't play the best to their abilities, but at the same time, it's also like, are they being put in the best positions to win? And you cannot say that's been the case with Tom Thibodeau the entire season, because we've watched Tom Thibodeau the entire season.
Yeah, like, again, the game, yeah, it was on the players were in the game, the entire series and everything. It's clearly on him. Like, we can't reduce. Also, I'm not reducing this series to just game 6. I'm not doing that. There were 6 games involved, and 5 of them were clearly Tom Thibodeau issues. Like,
and it literally took the talent of the team being the talent of the team to make it work. Like, again, do you realize how hard it is to come back from 20 in the playoffs? To do it 3 times and then to have another 14-point comeback. Like, I'm pretty sure they had 5 double-digit comebacks.
Yeah, it's insane.
The Detroit series was all Brunson basically being the best player on the floor.
Yeah, like
that series shouldn't have been close. I still believe that, and that's not a disrespect to Detroit. Like, they have Cade and window dressing. Like,
yes,
come on.
And the fact that series went to 6 is an embarrassment. Like,
yeah, it's a Tibbs issue. All this is a Tibbs issue. He doesn't pull the right route. He doesn't read. He reads the game completely differently. I'd say. I don't.
It tells him what to do.
Well, it's not telling him what to do because he doesn't know what to do.
The game tells you what to do.
But yeah, it's just like at some point
he's not responded to it.
He has a negative. He has a losing record in the playoffs. He has a losing record in elimination games. He's never been a champion. He's never made the NBA Finals. He's been in 2 ECFs, and the second ECF he got into was this year, and he got into it this year because the team had 3 double-digit comebacks, and 2 of them were of 20 points.
But isn't that his motivation, like pushing them to greater heights?
So he's literally giving them the Rock Lee weights and telling them get it out the mud. He coaches like it's Friday Night Lights.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, harder, better, faster.
Like he legitimately coaches like it's Friday Night Lights. Just get it out the mud.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Remember the Titans actually, but yeah,
that works too. He's not Coach Carter. Clearly, he doesn't care about making his players better. Like it's just it is maddening. It's yeah. Like Tibbs is 68 years old. Like he's not going to change. He's not going to do anything different. He's not going to somehow come back next year. He's like, you know what? I really, really enjoy net rating. I really like the idea of point of attack defense from guards. Like, we've seen the weaknesses that he's had with the roster. It's like he doesn't trust small guards at the point of attack. Exhibit A quickly, Exhibit B deuce. Also, 3 straight playoff losses to lower seeded teams. At some point, it becomes like if you don't even win at home,
I think it's actually like 7, isn't it? Somebody posted like the last like
3, 7, 25. It doesn't matter. It's 3,
but it's like
7
it's like
too
a
many.
Weird streak. Like, I mean,
it's not weird.
It's not weird.
It's not weird.
This is
who he is.
I did want to get back to that Daddy comment. I do think like. I mean,
back home. We're doing back home talk at
respect
12:05 a.m.
This is Cope. This is straight up Cope. But we do have a guy who's 6'9", like the flashes I've seen, I like, but I'm not going to pretend to be a great draft evaluator. None of us can. Tyrese knows way more about the draft than me and called the guy who just beat us
No,
pseudo
he
wudo.
doesn't.
But
No, that was a great
sorry,
take. That was Tyrese's best take.
I'm still a bones.
I'm gonna retweet it. Actually, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna retweet
Yeah, you
it.
should. Yeah, retweet it. Fuck him. Fuck that.
It's on the Strickland Podcast Network.
I do think the Knicks would benefit from like having a look. I am the Deuce defender. Me and Tyrese are very much opposed on Deuce. I think we'd both agree that he's probably not the ideal guy you want starting on this roster or like really a championship roster. But I also don't think Hart is.
Yeah, that's why it's Mitch for now.
For now, but I also think you'd want to be able to go against a team like it because like we saw Indiana neutralize that by just putting Mitch in the corner by going 5 out. I think like whether it's Herb Jones or it's another guy, I think that would be my major priority, especially if you believe Mitch can be healthy next year, right? Before this, I would have said, maybe you get a guy like Walker Kessler. So then maybe those are the two priorities. But I do think like if you have some, and I do think it's easier to find a big that can give you 80% of Mitch than like a big like a wing that can be a really good defender. I do think like that would be my priority from the offseason, right? Like finding a guy that like firmly, whether or not you keep Tibbs, it's like, nah, Hart is your 6th man. Just make that completely because like McBride, even with another coach, to the points that Tyrese has made, like the guy still makes bad turnovers sometimes, still is very limited off the dribble. To me, that's the biggest priority is like a wing who just firmly puts Hart in this 6-man role. But I don't know if you guys agree.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of sucks that we're going to. Well, we need another wing, and it's like, yes, the entire league needs another wing.
Yeah,
it's just
at some point you need to make a choice and be like, we're going to do something.
And it's like, hey, you're running out 2 7-footers. like how much more do you want from a wing? Like, oh, we gotta get Herb Jones in here somehow, and it's like, Mr.
Robinson. Everything we've talked about.
Also, the double big lineup works. That's the kind of the annoying. Like
it didn't work as well this series, though. That's kind of like I think it worked a lot better against Boston. This series, the starters were a little bit more even.
He also ran it like 10 straight minutes essentially, and then like
he didn't break it up, right? He just like jammed it, and then he goes, "We got to get back to Hart." That's what he did.
Yeah,
he begrudgingly did the double big.
And it took Josh Hart himself going, yeah, you probably should run that more. Like, the fact that Josh Hart had to reason with
Josh Hart said that.
And he's like, no, Josh, I just really trust you out there. You give me 40 minutes every night, man. I just really need you to make it work.
Yeah, Josh doesn't trust himself.
Josh Hart legitimately, even Josh Hart is like, yeah, I don't think I should play. Josh Hart advocated for it. Do you know how bad that looks? It's like, it wasn't like Tibbs going, yeah, we need to do something. It's like Josh Hart going, no, I think you need to do something. The fact that he was talking about it in the Pacers, in the Celtics series is like.
We can go about rotations, but ultimately, Cat and Brunson had bad games, and the defense was porous. Hard to be mad at Tibbs. Players really blew it. I think it can be both, and ultimately, to quote "Remember the Titans," attitude reflects leadership. I don't think there was a lack of effort tonight. I think you just look at these teams seamlessly throw the ball around. This is my question. Are players just fucking dumb? I don't think so. I've seen Brunson play in that style of offense in Dallas. I've seen, Cat play in a more ball movement oriented offense. I don't think but I think to your point, Tyrese, you experiment in many ways, right? You experiment with lineups, you experiment styles of play, right? Why are the Knicks botching? Switching should be the most easy and intuitive form of defense.
Switching should be the base form of the defense.
Yeah, but
the fact that we play drop is insane. Like,
but they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they didn't know what they're doing because they didn't do it the entire season. Do it.
Yeah, right. And that's the kind of thing where, like, Mark Cuban, I don't want to glorify Mark Cuban or anything, but he went on Skip Bayless to explain why Oklahoma City lost to Miami.
Tyrese Halliburton, this man. Sorry, go ahead.
But he's talking about how, like, they played a lot of zone that season, and that helped them, even though that wasn't their base defense, it helped them against LeBron. That's a team, like, those are the kinds of things where, like, I think we'd all agree on talent, the Heat shouldn't have lost the Mavs. but those are the kind of things that swing the series, and you're just not seeing that. It's just we're no longer trying to just get good at the basic. We're not trying to get good at HB dive anymore, right? This is not like a team that's just trying to run basic plays. We have superstars. And yeah, I think the experimentation is tough. And I think you see it from other teams. I mean, do you guys, I don't know how much you guys watch other teams. Do you guys see other teams experimenting a lot more?
I'm not going to pretend like I'm watching other teams. This team soaked up so much energy of mine.
I mean, I think they do. I think you see it. Like, again, the Pacers are simple. The Pacers can run all those players because they play all those players. And it's like the Knicks don't figure out what they need to figure out. And that falls on Tibbs. And it's hard to know what you have in your roster when you don't utilize your roster. It's hard to know what you can do when you don't test the limitations of it and you just run out the same thing every single game for 82 games. And at some point, it just becomes a do it harder, better, faster, stronger. Josh Hart, you're going to play 38 minutes again tonight, buddy. And it's like, why don't we just figure out, like, hey, what can we use Cat to help me on the elbow like they did Hartenstein? He can pass as well as Hartenstein, but he could also turn and face up. I think they use Cat they're not going to use him as a hub the way they use Hartenstein, but like I think they used him pretty decently as a playmaker this season. I just think it's a matter of Cat likes to drive, and part of that is also like Tom Thibodeau decided to essentially cut all of his 3-point attempts and make them into drives, which I mean, I can't say that wasn't useful for the Cat, given the fact that like him driving was essentially the best form of offense the Knicks generated the entire postseason. Aside from the Pistons series, basically. But also, like, Cat can take 10 threes at a game. Why don't we just have him do that sometimes? It's just like I keep saying this point, and it's annoying. I really
because also if you're running like offensive hub at the elbow type of thing, you really need everyone to be on the same page with specifically the timing of cuts, the timing of screens, and a lot of different off-ball and on-ball action that's going on. And as you know from this offense, like it doesn't have like the Knicks barely, if they're doing an elbow play, do they run like split cuts multiple times a game?
No.
It may be lucky to see one. You know what I mean? Like it's just like little things like that. Like
a lot of like we run set plays and they're basically just like it's one kind of action and then maybe like another screen and that's kind of it. It's like
so like the main set play is it's when you saw it a lot in this series because Brunson was just getting harassed up the court by Neesmith, who was just fouling him over and over and over and over again. But like so they have him off ball and then he run a couple screens and a couple curls. It's you notice the action. It's just like if Bridges brings the ball up, he brings the thing, then they go on the left corner, either like OG or Towns are there and do a couple screens. Brunson will come back to get the ball. Like that's one of their set plays. Someone can cut to the rim, but like they don't do it that much. And then they have their stuff a timeout out of bounds.
That's it.
That's really it. They don't really do anything. They'll do a high pick and roll sometimes.
It's funny because I forget it was Reggie or Stan, but he actually praised. It's like every time Tibbs calls a timeout, this is phenomenal. He gets to the basket. There were just multiple.
He did.
I think the guy knows ball, but I think just the players don't have the intuition for some kind of. There's a difference between following rules and then when you don't have the rules. That's like when they have a set play, it seems like they know what they're doing. When it's freelance, they suck. There is kind of an intuition that's built in between. That's like, what offense is like the triangle are supposed to build, and it just seems like they lack that. New York organized multiple players only. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, unironically, it's kind of crazy that Tibbs hasn't adopted because he doesn't have an offensive philosophy. Like there's entire history of just like motion offense for the triangle. If the Knicks ran the triangle, I'm not even kidding. If the Knicks ran the triangle with this team, they probably would have beaten the Indiana Pacers.
Cat and Brunson are pretty good combo there, right? I'm not saying
that's what I'm saying. Like if they just did that, and I know that's like it's a horror from like the Phil Jackson era, but like it's actually
Melo and fucking Tony Douglas, right?
Yeah, like we're talking about like a team that actually would have been much better running all their automatics out of that, because it would have got that actually would have gotten them some good offense. It would have gotten them better offense than what they were doing, especially in this game. But I'm surprised Tibbs hasn't adopted that. He should have, but whatever. Sorry.
New York
I pray we
organized.
don't find out.
New York organized multiple players. We're getting to that. New York organized multiple players-only meetings after embarrassing defeats throughout this postseason run, all with various degrees of intensity per league sources. I mean, they've bounced back. I wonder how much of that was just them and how much of that the coach had a hand in.
Well,
It's all
players
them.
only. It's all them. It's players only meetings.
And
Mikal
all-
Bridges literally has layup lines. Like
Tibbs isn't coming up with stuff. That's why the players are meeting.
that's
and
why
Tibbs
Mikal
has-
Bridges is like, we need to keep, like, we keep losing third quarters at fourth quarter. Like Mikal Bridges is the whistleblower for a reason, because he keeps saying what everybody else is feeling.
Yeah, he's the one who's like, we don't come out at halftime. Why? Clearly something's going on, but they're like,
And he can't
again,
say the reason why.
but he can't
he's
say,
literally
yeah.
He's like blink twice if you think it's Tibbs, and he's like,
Tibbs has the backing of Leon Rose, league sources said, and full buy-in from Brunson, but ultimately James Dolan his final decision. I don't think Dolan has been interfering.
Oh please, let me know when fucking Katz actually breaks an actual story and actually does some reporting. Fucking please.
I'm
Get
listening
this
to
shit outta
CP the franchise over Fred Katz.
Yeah, get this shit out of here. The Katz hasn't said, hey, please.
Fred
He has
Katz
the
has
backing.
authority.
This man doesn't know shit. He can go back to wherever
He
the
knows
fucking Rocky
chatterbait
Group
links,
came
and
out of
that's
under.
it.
Fuck him.
I assume this is also either Katz or another beat reporter behind the scenes. Knicks players
They don't know
OG
shit.
express frustration with. I would imagine that OG and Mikal are particularly. We have seen OG be visibly frustrated. Look, these are thankless jobs. Mikal in particular, because he gets asked to like run through 10,000 screens. I think it must be frustrating because Hart has similar contributions, but they're very loud, right? Hart will dive in for a huge rebound. Hart gets the rim. These are not things that Mikal does, but he does have to do very difficult stuff. I don't know if you guys sense this, but I feel like even, Obi was frustrated with playing time. Quickly, if not frustrated, knew he was worthy of a bigger role. We knew that,
RJ Barrett was in need of a bigger role. I agree.
Anyway, Deuce McBride, Grimes. We know Grimes is the most vocal. It doesn't.
I'm sorry, RJ Barrett's off limits, but you're like Quentin Grimes had a gripe for a larger role.
Yeah,
get out of here.
If I had to put a player on my team, I'm picking the one that can shoot and play defense.
I'm
It
taking the one
doesn't
who's
seem
willing
like
to
this
take a
team-
shot.
It seemed like this team was professionals. It did not seem like this team was as tight knit, perhaps, as last year was.
I don't care. I don't care if they're tight knit or not. Just do your job. Like, how many tight knit teams I've seen be garbage.
But I think they did. That's the point. But that can be that little.
I'm a Mets fan. All those teams are tight knit, and they usually end up stinking. Okay,
but it's not like that. Baseball is different. Like, you don't have the same level of chemistry and playing together, right?
I think it's just a matter of like, if you're talking about like tight knit in terms of like personality, maybe not. But also like, are you tight knit on the basketball court? That's all that matters. Sorry.
Thank you guys for the season. It's a disappointment to end this, but I appreciate all the work you guys do. Thanks for your support, Tony. Sorry it ended this way, but let's kind of reflect a week from now or even now. Do you view this season as a success, a failure, an incomplete? Shout out Mr. Grad School guy, Tyrese. Congrats again.
That's right.
Appreciate it. I mean, if the expectation was like, if you told me, oh, the Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals and they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6, I'd be like, okay, good season. But if you told me, oh, they played the Indiana Pacers and they beat the Celtics and you lost the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6, it's kind of hard to not be disappointed because I feel like they were the better team. And again, that game 1 is going to haunt the franchise until they win the finals. Like, that game 1 is legitimately, that's up there with the finger roll. That's up there with 2 for 18. That's up there with 2000 Game 7. It probably it's legitimately one of the darkest moments in franchise history, and
Wow.
it defined the series. Like, can you say it's not?
Well, there was the offseason where the Nets got KD and Kyrie, and the Knicks got
Yes,
Julius
clean sweep.
Randle after
Yes.
trading KP. And
What?
I can think of a lot more dark moments, Tyrese.
No,
There's
I'm
nothing
sorry.
dark
The
about
Ewing
that.
missed finger roll. There was
Yeah,
there
Ewing's
was John
finger roll.
Starks game 7.
That's what I just said. I said
You just
Ewing's
said
finger
that.
roll. John Starks 2 of 18.
And
2000
this, I mean, I would
2000 Game
argue that
7.
the Heat was worse than this. Like
Hell
that to
no.
me pisses me off more than this. I guess I have more respect
game.
for the Pacers.
ECF game. First ECF game this decade.
But we lost to a good team.
Home court
I didn't think-
advantage.
We lost to a fine team. Come on, they're fine.
I thought we lost to an evenly matched team. I think that's where we all disagree.
You're just wrong on that. You're just fundamentally wrong, and I hate to say that to you, but just fundamentally wrong about that.
It's legitimately
Oklahoma City's going to win in 3 games against Indiana. Let's be real. Like, let's be real. Like,
you're gonna forfeit and
they're
storm the
gonna
White House.
yeah,
It's gonna be the
they're gonna
Nuggets
do.
Heat
Come on.
series. It's gonna be the Nuggets Heat series.
I won't be surprised if we find out the starting lineup change was subtly forced by the front office. I agree.
It was.
It was.
After that,
Didn't the franchise say that?
Yes.
Our boy, the real source in New York.
He basically said that, like, Josh Hart had a hand in it, but it's also like the front office basically like telling him he should probably do it, and he was resisting it.
When all of like the public data is so shocking that like us idiots can point out that a lineup change needs to be. Can you imagine what the internal data have? How they're categorizing things? Like, God only knows how bad it was. Like, for the front office, probably be like, "Holy shit,
I think
how is this still happening?"
my like conspiracy theory is like I don't want to pit this against each other, but I think there is the West side, which is more about relationships. There's the parent side, which is kind of scouts and eye test. There's the Aller side, which probably leans towards analytics. I'm not saying that Perrin or even West are opposed to analytics, or that Perrin or that Aller is not in favor of them. It does seem like the front office has pressured Tibbs. We've had reports that Tibbs, after the 21-22 season, which I still will contend was his worst season as a coach, where they missed the playoffs, and he started Alec Burks at point guard, didn't after that, I think there were conversations. I don't know if he was on the hot seat, but that probably was a pick it up or else. I would imagine there's going to be conversations like that because the stakes are too high. I do want to talk about this. We were talking about Daddy, like Tibbs will ever play this kid in the 5 years. Yeah, that's kind of why I brought him up in the first place, because we talked about passing. I'm not saying Tyler Kolek was going to swing this series. That's a guy who kind of engendered some passing, right? You talk about length on defense. Pacome Dadier, as raw and as he might be, gave you that. We talk about the success of 2 bigs. Well, you had Ariel Hukporti, who when he played looked pretty good. And the thing is, like, the more you play those guys, especially if it's the dog days of February or some game that's not going to matter, and it is increasingly seeming like more and more regular season games, there is more to be gained from getting that data than just doing the same thing. That you saw how that benefited the Pacers, right? Mathurin, a guy who can be out of the rotation and come in, was ready. Jarris Walker, right, came in and hit threes, did his job on defense. And either that's just not an option, or we're not exploring that enough. It can't be both ways, though, right? Or the Knicks are just shitty at drafting, which I think we see that they're not, right? So,
I think the best way to phrase it is, like, do I think those guys should be able to play rotation minutes? Not like in the rotation, but like if guys are out, should they get opportunities to play? Yes. Do I think they're going to swing anything versus this franchise? No. Like, your biggest bet is maybe Dadier. Like, maybe being able to like soak rotation minutes and like the Shamet role. But then it also becomes like, you ideally want somebody with Shamet's offensive profile, which is like a movement shooter, because the Knicks don't have that, and he's their only one, and he's good at it, as I think we saw from the back half of the season when he finally started to look a little bit healthier, and the playoffs, especially this series against Indiana. For me, it's a matter of like I don't think Kolek's an NBA player. I've said that pretty brazenly. I just don't have any faith in a 6'1" guard who can't score. I think Huck 40 is a good big, but it's also like the Knicks have a lot of bigs. So it's kind of like, unless Mitchell Robinson is like resting on a back to back, I don't really see Huck 40 really getting burned.
I mean, do you think they're going to keep Precious then?
They might. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I don't want them to. I've made that perfectly clear. I'm going to keep saying
Because
it
then
again.
you're going into next season with Mitch, Cat, and nothing, and you're going to
Yeah, like I would do Mitch. I mean, I think probably bring Precious back on a minimum instead of a $6 million salary, and they probably like use the MLE for something else.
But Huckporty is like a real big. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
he's a
that's on
big.
Tibbs for playing Precious like a 4, which he did, which was also.
Yeah, I think the pivot you should make is essentially like, if Mitch should not play back to backs, and then Huck Porty should be able to play those minutes when Mitch is resting on back to backs. That just feels like the obvious solution, where it's like, okay, Mitch has to play back to backs. If Cat has a game off or whatever, you can start Mitch. You can have Precious be your backup center. Like they all like the fact that Cat can shoot just means that like you can play 3 centers. Like you could clearly make this work. It's just a matter of don't play Precious and Hart together. You could play Precious and you could play Hart and Mitch together. You can't play Hart and Precious together. You can't play Hart and Precious and Mitch together. But there are ways to make it work. I mean, do I think Precious will be gone? Like he's fine as a 10th man. The problem is sometimes he's been our 6th. And that's again a Tibbs issue because he loves size. It's like Precious should not be starting for this roster and playing 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, it's I brought up this comment. Sorry, Doug, I'll let you chime in, but Dagnall stuck Jalen Williams in pivotal moments on Jokic when Hartenstein failed. Now is reward. And that's kind of the thing, right? Terry, I agree with you in the strict kind of hierarchy of things. Maybe Precious should be ahead of. Maybe it's not worth talking about Huckporty or even Dadier, but those guys aren't even options, right? We saw Indiana be able to dig 10, 11, 12. We've seen Oklahoma City to be able to do this. I think that's going to be more important in the second apron era. Because I really think the Knicks' top 7 is as good as anybody in the league.
Yes.
We saw that 8 or 9 weren't that bad with Delon Wright and Andrew Shamet. Can you get a whole season out of that? I don't know.
I think you can. I think after Shamet, I think you get a whole season out of Shamet. Like that's what Shamet has done.
For campaign primarily as the backup point.
But depending on how things go, you're gonna want as many options as you have, and it just doesn't seem like we have that. Right?
I mean, honestly, like they have the options, they just don't get to play. That's been the root of the issue.
They have become non-options because they never play. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Well, I've never seen it in the game. If you don't try it, well, that's because I can't. So it's chicken and the egg there. So I did want to highlight this, that other teams do throw out, weird guys, so to speak. Want to move through these comments. Oh.
Do you keep Town or you keep Towns? Okay. Who, like, if you want to get rid of Towns, by all means, like, what's the option? Who's better than Towns that you're getting?
Don't say KD because I'm actually going to throw up. Like,
right, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying though? Like, it's a very small list, and it's very hard to get that guy. Like, what are you going to bring back Julius Randle and like undo the trade? Like, I don't know what Towns is, as for all of his flaws and his defense being shit and basically a big reason why they lost this game. You still got to keep him. He was the biggest reason they were even in the series. Like, he was great, except for tonight where he pooped his pants. But like, he's largely been amazing. So like, I can't really be like that annoyed with Towns. Like, it's obviously Tibbs, because like, what's your counter? If Milwaukee wants to give us Giannis for Tibbs, not Tibbs, Giannis. I'd take Giannis for Tibbs, but want to do Giannis for Towns? By all means, I'd love that. But like, that shit ain't happening.
Yeah.
What do you want, Jared? Like, you want Jared Allen? Like, who do you want? Who do you want to replace Towns?
Like you're not going to get anything worth it because you're not going to get a star. Like, unless you get a star, and you need a star because you need 2 stars to win in this fucking era, like, you're not going to get anybody who's worth it. So
it's the same thing with Julius Randle too, right? We're like, you don't trade Julius Randle unless you get an upgrade. Guess what? They got an upgrade to Julius Randle. Like, it makes sense. Like, it's the same logic. Like, you don't, like, because remember before we were like, let's trade like Julius Randle for like Marcus Morris or like anyone. You know what I mean? Like
Andrew
clearly
Wiggins and Moses
and
Moody.
Andrew Wiggins, like terrible ideas, right? Because clearly Randle's good. You need to trade him for a better player in order to improve. It'd be the same thing for Towns, and it's only a handful of guys. Where it's like AD, who's not reliable, they're not trading him. Like it's not happening. Like I said, unless Milwaukee
there's a guy
wants
in
to
Milwaukee.
give us guys.
There's a guy in Milwaukee.
Well, you think Tyrese Halliburton's better than Giannis, so like that doesn't surprise me.
Wow, now he's going crazy. Doug is just.
You think
Doug
he's
is. I
better
wish
than Jokic,
Brunson
man?
emptied. What?
You think he's better than Jokic?
Giannis or Halliburton?
Yeah, you think I heard Halliburton's best player in the NBA. I don't know, man.
That's what I heard from you.
Halliburton honestly would have helped win the Looney Tunes. It would have been a blowout for the Looney Tunes over the Monstars. No, it's. I do think I'll say this though, right? With how much Brunson has improved, like, is there a level of 3 like really good role players? It sounds like that's a no from what you were just saying.
Like
You would rather just roll
what
with
combination of role players are you going to get for him? Like we don't lack role
I'm
players.
thinking of like Jaren Jackson, like
That's a star. And Jaren Jackson in the playoffs has been an adventure.
would you consider Bane a star?
No, but I don't want Bane either. Like I don't want Jaren Jackson Jr. or Desmond Bane because I don't think those guys really A, help Brunson, or B, are good enough in the postseason in order to justify what, like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is looking at a supermax contract. I'm not touching that. He's a great defender. The offense is iffy in the playoffs. Like Karl Anthony Towns, I've never worried about his offense in the playoffs. His defense is an issue, but
big. You'd ideally like defense from a big.
But yeah, that's why you have Mitchell Robinson. Like again, Karl Anthony Towns' defense was up and down this series. I thought his defense was solid in the Celtics series. I thought his defense, like, especially
it was awful tonight.
Yeah, it was awful tonight, but I thought it was also good in Game 5. I thought his defense was good in Game 1 for the most part until they fucking
good on
collapsed.
his level or good period for a big.
Good, like until the Knicks collapsed.
Yeah, until it was the collapse.
I thought his defense was fine in Game 1 until the collapse. I thought his defense was fine in Game 3, especially when he scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. I thought his defense was fine in Game 5. Like, does he go up and down? Absolutely. But do I think, like, his level is, like, up? He's a below average defender, but that's why you play him with Mitchell Robinson to mitigate some of those concerns. I don't think he's going to be your anchor 5 big, but also it's like that's why you play him minutes at the 4 and minutes at the 5, and ideally his minutes at the 5 get to play with more point of attack defense, which is where Deuce comes in.
Yeah, that's why you get rid of Tibbs. It's a no-brainer.
Yes.
Well, we will we'll have to see. I do want to just really quick, assuming Tibbs is back. I'm not saying I'm championing that. I'm getting a lot of people in the comments think that that's what I'm saying. That's just what I think will happen. Assuming that happens, what are the 1 or 2 moves you would make in the offseason?
If Tibbs is back.
If Tibbs is back.
I'm traded Josh Hart.
Yeah.
I'm traded Josh Hart.
You gotta trade Josh Hart, and you probably have
But what do you want to add to this roster? A wing, another big?
It could be Tyrese for all I care. Josh Hart can't play.
Yeah, like you basically need to take away the fucking bottle from him because he's going.
It's sad we've had to do this so many times, right?
Yeah, and it's like that's the problem. Like it's a problem.
Josh Hart's a good player. It's just you. Yeah,
it's the fundamental flaw with this team, and that's like I totally get everyone expecting Tibbs to be back, and of course no one's going to talk about firing him like the day at like the night that they lost, right? Like of course Brunson's going to be like, that's my guy. They're all going to say all that shit. The front office has to, go into the offseason, see how the draft shakes out, see what goes on the front, that type of stuff. But like they do need to make a decision on the coach. And if they decide to keep Tibbs, they have to trade Josh Hart, and then they will continue to be, second round to Eastern Conference Final max type team, and then it's going to be on the front office, right? Like then we're at the stage where it's going to be the front office's fault. I don't want to get there though, because this actually was a very good in a very successful season, but like we're talking championships now, so like you got to make these margin things, and one of those is you got to make a tough decision and fire a guy Tibbs. You have to. He needs to go.
I think he had some good games. I also think I agree. In general, they're at a different place. I do think Schwinn said this on the pod during a worse time if you can remember this season, that if the front office actually fired Tibbs, then it is pretty ballsy because putting it on them. You're not hiding behind Tibbs. I'm not saying they're doing that, but it really allows you to see, all right, we don't know if Brunson and Hart and Cat can work together. That's the bet you've made. At least make that. Let's see that out. Let's play it out. I think if you trade Hart, you're asking yourself, do we think Josh Hart is not good, or do we think that with a different set of guys this would work better? But with all the constraints,
Also, what are you going to get for him?
I mean, you can get a Herb Jones with.
No, you're not. We don't have.
I don't think you're getting Herb.
You're gonna get this is the problem. It's Josh Hart is an average rotation caliber wing who's an iffy shooter. But again, there's a lot of iffy shooters that play 26 to 30 minutes on rotation and championship teams. An iffy shooter who plays 30 minutes is Aaron Nesmith. An iffy shooter who plays 30 minutes is Derek Jones Jr.
Is not an
iffy
shooter.
Unless he plays in the playoffs, then he turns to a 50% shooter. Point being,
was he a 40-something in the regular season too?
I mean, he shot he barely played the regular season, but my point is essentially the reason why we're having this conversation is because Tom Thibodeau thinks he's a guy who leads the league in minutes, and it's no, he's not that. He's never supposed to be that. That's the issue.
I want to end on this. I'd rather get arrested by the CIA for headbutting a chicken than to see Josh Hart and Tibbs on my team.
That's real.
Is this some sort of inside joke? I don't understand.
I don't think the CIA exists anymore. The deep state.
Yeah.
Why is the CIA arresting people for butting a head? What? Who's headbutting a chicken?
I think if you start questions with why are people getting arrested for things right now, you go down a
I'm asking why are people headbutting chickens, and what does the CIA have to do with headbutting chickens?
It's a very interesting comment.
Is this a reference I'm not understanding?
I don't think so, but I think we've kind of said it all. Thanks for joining me, eulogizing the season. It definitely sucks, but it sucks. Sometimes you just gotta sit with that. Thanks for joining me, Tyrese and Drew, Doug, and all of you guys. Thanks for your support throughout the season. It's been a lot more fun doing these and hanging out with you guys and listening to your comments and engaging. And hopefully we'll be back better next year. Depending on how it looks like. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you soon.